Hey everyone, it's Friday, which is good. So let's see, the homework, there will be homework posted today at 2, and the next quiz, let me say it again. There will be homework today posted at 2, and the next quiz will be available tomorrow at 12 a.m. I'm not sure why I honestly chose 12 a.m. I guess that was kind of random, but you do have time to complete it. I know Tuesday of next week, we don't meet. This class doesn't meet, but I'm pretty sure I could still hold office hours. So if I find out otherwise, I'll let everyone know. So Tuesday, as of now, I still expect office hours to be held on Tuesday, even though it's a day with no classes. I think they call it a wellness day, if I remember correctly. Okay. All right. So we got the quiz, the homework. I know the first test is on the 22nd, if I remember correctly. So again, we will be take home, so I will let everyone know more about it. Haven't made it up yet. All right, let me think. Any questions though? I figured today what we do, I did email everyone the notes. I figured today what we do is I would, do another example of factor by grouping. Then I would let everyone try an example and then just do part of a worksheet. All right. Let me stop sharing my camera. There we go. Okay. Okay, so for factor by grouping, I did go through this last time. Okay. So let me see something actually. Okay, it's there. All right. Now, this came up in I think it was the other class, but unless you're factoring completely, you really can skip the first step, factoring out the GCF. I mean, if you're factoring completely, that's something you definitely want to do no matter what kind of polynomial you have. Take out any common factors. So, but really, unless you're factoring completely, you don't really have to do that. So it's just something that came up in my other class. I wanted to let everyone here know it as well. So that's for factor by grouping. Again, this is the same process as last time. So, it's in the notes already. I did email everyone the notes as well. So what I want to do now is go through this example. Okay. And again, this is factor by grouping is really what you want to use when you have a polynomial with 4 terms in it. Okay? When you have a polynomial with 4 terms, this is really what you want to use. Okay. So notice right away, there's a coefficient of 1, right? And the only factor of 1 itself is 1. Oh, excuse me, I said that wrong. The only factor of 1 is just 1 itself. But that tells us in the GCF, the greatest common factor of the coefficients has to be 1. Okay. Notice also the smallest exponent of x is 2. Right? X squared. So that tells us the GCF, b times x to the m, right? That's going to be 1 times x squared, which is just x squared. So x squared is the GCF. So what we're going to do is factor it out. And how do you factor it out? You put it there in front, and then you have to divide to see what's left over. Okay, so let's do that. So we have x squared in front. We're dividing to see what's left over. This step, again, I put it in here because you really want to make sure you divide into each term in a sum or difference. I've seen students in the past, what they would do is they would divide x squared into the first term only, but not the other terms. But you want to divide into each term here. You want to make sure you do that. Okay? And when you do that, what you get is this. You got x squared here. Here you have 12 times x to the fifth, right? You subtract the exponents. Here you have 4x to the fifth over x squared. That's 4x cubed. Here we have 3x to the 4 over x squared. That's 3x squared, as you can see. X squared over x squared, that's just 1. So this is what we get here. Okay? Now, so what we end up with is this polynomial in here. And remember, once you factor out the GCF, what's left over in parentheses here in the polynomial, the GCF there has to be 1. I think I mentioned that last time. So this thing we want to factor. Okay, so let's do that. Well, sorry, went too fast. So this thing we want to factor. And again, there's 4 terms here. So we're going to keep going with factor by grouping. Okay. So remember, you're going to form 2 groups of 2, indicating the groups using parentheses. So for the first group, the first 2 terms, right? That's going to be one group indicated by parentheses, as you can see. The second group, the third and fourth term, that's also indicated by parentheses. And in each group, you're going to factor out, you're going to find the GCF of each group individually and factor it out. That's what we're going to do. So, excuse me. Okay, so here for the first group, the smallest exponent of x is 3, as we can see. Okay, that's the smallest exponent of x. So the m in the GCF is 3. Remember, the GCF is b times x to the m. We get m is 3. 4 is a factor of 12. Since 4 is a factor of 12, 4 is the greatest common factor among these coefficients. You could always list the factors if you want, but what I'm trying to show you there is you don't have to. I mean, 4 and 12 aren't that big of numbers, so you can easily list all their factors. So b we get is 4, and the GCF is b times x to the m, which is 4 times x cubed. Now we're going to factor that out. So let's do that. We have 4x cubed. We put it in front. We have to divide to see what's left over. Right? We divide to each term. So we have 4x cubed times 12x to the fifth over 4x cubed. Right? And what is that? That's 12 over 4 is 3. X to the fifth over x cubed. Subtract the exponents, you get x squared. 4x cubed over 4x cubed, that's a 1. Okay? 4x cubed, anything over itself, any non-zero number, but 4x cubed over itself, that gives you 1. So we get this. And 3x squared plus 1, the GCF of that must be 1, right? This is the polynomial we get left over. Do you have any questions? Are there any questions so far? If not, that's okay. Okay. So what we did was I replaced 12x to the fifth plus 4x cubed, right? That's what we got, equal to 4x cubed times 3x squared plus 1. So I substituted here. And again, as I said before, 3x squared plus 1, the GCF of that is going to be 1. I mean, you could tell also by seeing that since there's a non-zero constant term, That tells you m has to be 0. The smallest exponent of x is 0. And since the term here is 1, the only factor of 1 is 1 itself. So the greatest common factor among the coefficient and the constant term is 1. So you would get 1 times x to the 0, which is just 1. So 3x squared plus 1 we have in parentheses, right? We're going to take that out of each group. Remember, with factor by grouping, after you factor out GCFs, you want to make sure that in parentheses, you have the same thing. And we do here, right? We have 3x squared plus 1, 3x squared plus 1. That's what we want. The same thing in parentheses. So now we take that out. When you factor it out, we put it in front. Okay? I mean, you might be able to visually get from here all the way down here without these steps here. And that's okay. I like to add all the steps because in the past, I've had students who needed to see all the steps. But if you were to skip these steps on an exam or something, that's fine. But really what's happening in the background then would be you're dividing, right? Let me add the parentheses. You would add 3x squared in parentheses, right? You have 3x squared plus 1 in front because we're going to factor it out. So you do divide to see what's left over. And when you divide, you divide into each term in the sum or difference. And you can see that there's going to be cancellation. In the first quotient, all you get left is 4x cubed. Well, okay. From the second one, 3x squared plus 1 cancels with itself. You're left with 1, and that's it. So altogether, we got x squared times this, right? This was the first step. And then we just factored this. We get x squared times 3x squared plus 1 times 4x cubed plus 1. Yeah?
Yeah, so I don't understand why you have to go through all the canceling out and where like the 4x to the third plus 1 like comes from out of that.
Why you have to go through all this?
Yeah, and then where like, how do you get the 4x plus 1? 4x to
I mean, in a sense, oh, sorry. I mean, in a sense, you really don't have to. You can skip these steps. But even when you're skipping them, in the background, this is what's happening. Because when you factor, you have to divide to see what's left over. But if you were to skip these steps, that's fine. Because some people can visually just go from here all the way down here. I don't know if that helps or not.
Yeah, kinda. I just like I don't like where is the plus 1 coming from if it's canceled out from everywhere already?
If you cancel something with itself, that's the same thing as just getting 1.
Okay.
And the 4x cubed, that's over here from the first product. And when you divide, you're killing off the 3x squared plus 1.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that kind of help, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, I hope I was able to help. Any other questions or? Yeah?
So is the bottom part the final answer?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have to just write like all parts of the problem out.
Well, you can just
write
write this part out.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Just.
I mean, I wrote everything out just so everyone understands. So.
Okay.
Hope that.